Weekend shift, what an evening of the weekend fast. We should enjoy that.
I'd like to welcome you all to the Wednesday, August 25th, 2021 regular meeting of the Cicero Town Board. Please note the exits in the front and the back of the room. That's who's here with us, for those folks who are visiting with us on YouTube. If they can comment, Susan Copio, Greg Walter, Robert May, Chris Nika, Nicole Walsh, Stephen Pennell, Michael Hans, and Wayne Freeman. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor White. Here. Councilor Carr.
Here.
Councilor White.
Here.
Councilor DeCarlo.
Here.
Supervisor Mike.
Sure, thank you. First item on the agenda, Nancy White, pledge
Allegiance to the flag.
Maintaining harm's way and all of our troops and citizens and Afghan hunters and Afghanistan trying to get out of it. Get out. See.
Thank you.
Approval of abstracts. Resolved, the Cicero Town Board approves abstract numbers 32 dated 8/11/2021 and 33 dated 8/18/2021.
Second, Mr. Powell, discussion. Clerk, call the roll.
Councilor White.
Yes.
Councilor Carr.
Yes.
Councilor White.
Yes.
Councilor DeCarlo.
Yes.
Supervisor Mike.
Yes, item is adopted. Thank you. Third item, public hearing, establishing consistent color law. Please, clerk, note the time, identify the clerk, we have proper posting. Where the town is needed to establish a solar law and establish a solar section in the town of Cicero code book, now therefore, 3,000 town board session Wednesday, August 25th, 2021, at 6:30 p.m. at 8233 Georgian Road. For public hearing to consider a Cicero solar law and establish a solar section in the Cicero code book, and will be proposed as local law number 9 of 2021, effective upon following the New York State Secretary of State. All the councilors were provided a letter from CDE North America, and a solar company, and they endorsed the solar law, and the clerk will put that in the minutes. I now entertain any residents who would like to speak in favor of the solar law. Is there anyone here who would like to speak in opposition to the solar law? Any questions from the board members? Any questions or comments on this?
I'd just like to comment that, obviously, this is something that the town of Cicero need, and, to establish the security of the town so that we have control of these solar farms that, are projected for the future.
Okay, we did have a number of folks who over the last year in particular had expressed interest in the township started having solar farms. So I'm going to keep the public hearing open. We'll go over to the next meeting. Okay, next item, number 4, Nancy.
Approve the hiring of Michael Major as an apprentice MEO probationer. Whereas the highway department is in need of a new hire after 2 retirements this year. Now therefore be it resolved, the town board approves Michael Major as an apprentice MEO probation at a pay rate of $26.54 per hour with a start date of August 30th, 2021.
I'm sorry, Judy, you second?
I did.
Okay, thank you. Before you can second, discussion on number 4. Clerk, call the roll.
Councilor White. Yes. Councilor Carr.
Yes.
Councilor White.
Yes.
Councilor DeCarlo.
Aye.
Supervisor Mike.
Yes, item is adopted. Thank you. Nancy, number 5.
Approved Scott Cooley from apprentice MEO probation to MEO. Whereas Scott Cooley was hired September 8th, 2020, and is coming off his 1-year apprentice probation at the pay rate of $26.54 to MEO. Now therefore be it resolved, the town board approves Scott Cooley as a town of Cicero Highway Department MEO at a pay rate of $27.87, effective August 30th, 2021.
Discussion on number 5.
Time flies, it feels like we did this like a month ago.
Roll call roll.
Council Whitney,
Yes.
Councilor Carr,
Yes.
Councilor White,
Yes.
Councilor McCallum,
Aye.
Supervisor Meyer.
Yes, item is adopted. Thank you, Jonathan.
Whereas there's an opening for a new seasonal part-time tax clerk. Now therefore be it resolved, the town board approves the hiring of Jacqueline Levesque as a seasonal part-time tax clerk effective September 1st, 2021, at a pay rate of $13.50 per hour.
Second.
So discussion on number 6. Roll call roll.
Council Whitney,
Yeah.
Councilor Carr,
Yes.
Councilor White.
Yes.
Councilor McCallum,
Aye.
Supervisor Meyer.
Yes, item is adopted. Thank you, Jonathan.
Whereas one seasonal tax clerk, Dawn Mullet, was not adjusted to the increased rate in the 2021 organizational meeting, and whereas there was an increase in the rate of pay approved in the 2021 budget for seasonal tax clerks, and there's nothing in the budget to cover the missed increase. Now therefore be it resolved, the town board approves the pay increase for Dawn Mullet as a part-time seasonal tax clerk at $13.50 per hour, effective August 26, 2021.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call roll.
Council Whitney,
Yes.
Councilor Carr,
Yes.
Councilor White,
Yes.
Councilor McCallum,
Aye.
Supervisor Meyer.
Yes, item is adopted. Thank you. Next item is number 8. For those who may have seen the agenda previously, number 8 and number 9 were merged together in one resolution. So number 9 is pulled, and Ms. Whitey, would you like to do replacement number 8?
Approve agreement with the SSC Cicero LLC. Whereas SSC Cicero LLC and Whitaker Properties LLC duly applied to the town of Cicero for permission to operate and maintain a solar generation and energy storage facility on the land located at 5827 McKinley Road, tax map number, parcel number 009-01-31.2 in the town. And whereas such permission was granted, subject to the applicant's meeting certain conditions regarding the execution of the limited site access agreement and the posting of adequate in the event town action to decommission the facility is deemed necessary during the term of the ground leases. And whereas the town officials reviewed the proposed decommissioning plan as submitted and amended along with the amount and form of performance security to be posted. And whereas the applicant also proposed a community host agreement, CHA, calling for the payment of $20,000 to the town of Cicero to offset the town's cost of the project, an initial offset of the potential subsequent pilot agreement with the Onondaga County Industrial Development Agency. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the town of Cicero approves the proposed SSC Cicero LLC limited site access agreement with schedules and exhibits, and further approves the proposed community host agreement, and further authorizes the supervisor to execute all documents necessary to complete the task, including sending a letter of no objection to the Onondaga County Industrial Development Agency.
I'll second it.
Discussion on number 8.
Yes, I would like to comment on it, only because we just recently, I believe, received the information regarding the community host agreement. And I really haven't had an opportunity to find out, because I do believe that one other municipality has agreed to this community host agreement, just to make sure that we are being properly accommodated at this time. $20,000, I feel, may not be sufficient because we are going to be applying this to, all of the efforts that we put into it as opposed to really applying it to something for the town itself. My opinion.
And covering, so this item and for the, number three, the, Cicero solar law. Remember, a few years ago, the planning board, having a number of discussions about how to secure, properly secure the taxpayers, in the unlikely event that some of these solar farms won't help out, how to protect the town system. And those notes and those comments were well founded, frankly, and I've been working with Robert Jermaine, Yosemite, Tree Boyke, and Kate Fiorello, and I have to tell you, they've been doing a absolutely fantastic job as far as not just this particular agreement on this property, but also the previous property where we did the Northern Boulevard and Grove project and the solar law. So I can understand that this is kind of a new thing to some people, but I have to tell you that we took the wisdom and the comments, suggestions from the planning board, along with council, and frankly, we have a situation right now where the residents of town of Cicero are dramatically better secured and protected with the security deposits and the post agreements than frankly any other town. Frankly, I didn't even know the upstate New York. And as far as I know, there's only one other town in the area that has the hope agreement. So I'm sure it's not going to cover all our expenses, but those folks I just mentioned did a fantastic job to get us where we're at.
Well, you're satisfied with the CHA. What you're saying?
I'm saying under the current situation, it's the best deal we're going to get for the county.
Okay, we just want to keep the comment on the subject, that's why. Mr. Jermaine, can you eliminate that at all? I mean, are you satisfied with our attorney, this CHA fair?
I am. I am. We've done, Bill underestimate the amount of work that he's done also on the solar stuff in general. You know, we had to kind of invent the wheel in the sense that the lease was convergent and then this, you know, putting together an access agreement with all the schedules, which are also the remediation issues and security and dealing with the solar companies. It's been a long, hard road. In terms of the CHA, it's a bit unique because not, you know, like I said, not many towns even have that, which is a bit of an offset. If there's as you all know, the IDA can approve the pilot or not, and they approve one for convergence. So, you know, it's likely that this is going to get through whether we do that or not. So at least if you get a CHA, you get a bit of an offset, which, as you also know, our portion of taxes are approximately 13% of the overall pie. So, you know, the amounts that we're talking about here aren't really great in terms of what a pilot discount would be over a 10-year period, typically would be a 10-year ramp up. So, you know, the amount that the town would receive out of the 13%, small, plus you're talking about an increase, a large increase from whatever farm field or whatever the discounted rate is that they're paying now. So for the town, in terms of finances, it's a good situation for us. Also, in terms of what we're obtaining for security, it's far beyond what most of the towns are. So I'm satisfied with it. And it's been a lot of work. Yeah, I'd like to get it done.
I agree with you, Robert, as well on the securities that are being placed. One question I have though is there verbiage in there that states if they do not get a pilot, that they still will pay us the $20,000?
No. The agreement is part of a package agreement that has part of the CHA that will, you know, part of them going for a pilot. So, you know, there's all bets are off if we don't get a pilot. We opted out of, as you know, that portion. So how it's going to be assessed in the future is still up in the air. there's many different theories on how to properly assess these. I'm going to talk to Karen about it. I have some research on that too. Going forward, that's going to be an issue too. And we have to address that with the other ones as well. We've been trying from the start to keep everybody on the same playing field, right? From convergent to SSC or whatever, right? And then at least up until the time that our new ordinance goes into place and we have a playbook for moving forward, which is what we're trying to accomplish, from our goal. So at least in terms of these two first deals, they're very similar. Conversion didn't have a CHF, so it's a benefit to it.
I'm just thinking of starting a precedent going forward.
Well, if we do, we're setting a good one. Because being a CHA or something, not everyone's. Right? As a matter of fact, almost no one has. So in my mind, it's good to move ahead. I'd like to move it ahead because there's deadlines coming up at least for the IDA and so on. I don't lose the chance.
Well, we had a number of meetings, Judy, Blake and I had one with National Grid months ago, and it was very productive. And as a result of those numerous meetings, we were able to set a framework for the first deal and then to follow up for the second deal. So, and we made some progress on the second deal. So, that being said, I think we've taken the comments from everybody, from the planning board to the zoning people and council, real estate people, and we have the best deal around, frankly, and health supervisors and legal counsel around the county now saying that they're now starting to copy our deal.
Yes.
So,
There's a priority.
yeah,
So
so
that's copyright. Not the first time it's happened.
it's a good thing.
I have a quick question, Mr. Supervisor. Does number 3 affect this at all, moving forward?
This will end up being in place, the deal, if this doesn't pass, and then number 3 is down the road. So it won't have a question on that. And this is right, that's right, because these are the two that were in, I'm gonna call old rules, new rules, those are my words, council can correct me if I'm right from now.
So we need number 3 moving forward, because we need a good framework for this. When I say speed in advance, we've done what I believe would be a good job. Because we've already got one. Kind of keep the same format around the field. A little bit of the next. But we've made some real tweaks going forward in the new solar law that will come into play. And I'm very happy with the new solar. You can tell it's pretty comprehensive. It's on China about our work. We're getting there. We're ahead of the curve in terms of where else.
Further discussion on number 8. Clerk will call the roll.
Seconded.
I think Nancy did, right?
You did.
Yeah.
Thank you. Counselor Blakely.
Yes.
Counselor Carr.
Yes.
Counselor Lloyd.
Yes.
Counselor Capello.
Aye.
Supervisor Meyer.
Yes, I was Scott, thank you. Next item number 10 is to start a public hearing to consider zone change to general commercial plots on East Ave Road, tax map number 0570218.2. Whereas the applicant requested zone change from general commercial CP to general commercial plus to be plus to the property located on East Ave Road, tax map number 05702. 18.2, now therefore be resolved the town board set Wednesday, September 8th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. at 856 Woodland Road. For a public hearing to consider zone change from general commercial to general commercial plus, CG plus, for tax map number 05702, 18.2.
Second.
Mr. Powell. Steve, did you give the board members a 5-second description of what the topic is?
Might be a little more hard, guys. This is.
Yeah, I'm
I think you did.
I'm sorry.
It's fine. This property involves the airmark on East Gap Road. This is the portion of property that the county owns that is south of the current subdivision that is developed. The county has parties that developed some of the vacant parcels, and they also want to include the subdivision or lot line adjustments in this parcel to the south. So it would require a zone change to be consistent with the map. So that's the application, and we're seeing application for individual contacts with development.
Many years we've been looking forward to development of Joel came back, parcel and got a new license. Okay, questions or discussion? Roll call.
Council Blakey.
Yes.
Council Card.
Yes.
Council White.
Yes.
Council McCallum.
Aye.
Supervisor Myers.
Yes, items adopted, thank you. Discussion items, I'm going to have some of the department heads, a few comments, so I can start off with, one item that has been obviously very much on the mind of many people in town, and is current flooding in certain neighborhoods. I've been in contact with, community development and, county, in order to facilitate, some folks who may be eligible for a program called Shake Up. I'll be taking the application for those folks who don't have to go downtown. It's a low income, based program for seniors and handicapped people. And if they meet the, income, guidelines, if they have things like foundation can damage, the, electrical, and again, things like the foundation, stairs, insulation, building things, not personal property, not clothing, things like that, the basic structure, you know. A lot of the newer properties there have been built up, the new building code, there's still a lot of folks who have homes that are pretty much flat, you know, right on the ground, and some of those, many of those have damage. So we're gonna be, reaching out to those folks, not just those, other parts around the town that may have some issues, so if they qualify, we're going to be helping them with the application process so that they don't have to have it, and we'll facilitate it here. That being said, let's see, Chris. So let the Chris in the side room, so I'll pass over Chris right now. Steve, you've been busy. Could you give residents a quick update on what's been happening and then going forward?
You know, obviously, we took a lot of phone calls on Thursday with flooded roads and backyards and basements. Due to obviously the heavy accumulation of the rain, up to both that dissipated, you know, by the afternoon. These neighborhoods are tributary to the Mud Creek and Walmer Creek, and obviously those tributaries were swelled and swollen and prevented and slowed down the drainage in neighborhoods. We've been responding to folks calling with concerns about the basement flooding, et cetera. There's a handful. We've been speaking with them and trying to help them out the best we can.
Okay. Chris, your crew is great. Here's a quick update.
In our situation, fortunate or unfortunate, I was out of town. So my foreman took care of it. We just have a standard procedure when beach road floods. We put up signs, we close the road. There's really not what we can do with it until the lake goes down. The lake is up about 2 feet right now. It is starting to recede, but we did have our sewer jet out and, you know, we blew out some pipes, but mainly it's just the level of the lake and everything around town was overwhelmed. So after, you know, a couple of hours each day, it went down once the rain stopped. So, you know,
You were in a number of neighborhoods.
yes, we're in a number of neighborhoods, but like I say, everything was just overwhelmed. You know, within a few hours, most of it went down. So there wasn't a whole lot we could really do. You know, we cleaned off some catch basins, blew a few pipes out, but most of it was just being too much water at once.
Okay, Chief, just to give you an idea of other departments, we're not taking it as my department type approach there. They will take care of everybody and whatever it was. And one item that I can keep do is the police department, they want to take care of things on town roads, they're on state roads and county roads and taking care of the things. We had, I had to tell you, I'm amazed that Route 11 didn't totally watch out over here. It's really about great. So, Steve, you got to give a quick update.
No, I'm not gonna really, I mean, they said, kind of said everything that I would say too, you know, thank the highway department to get the signs out on Beach Road, I really wish people would pay more attention to your signs. Even the small, there's buildings down there, you know, cutting through to go to Boreals or whatever we're gonna do. So the people really appreciated us being down there, we got to do our best, to calls for service, we're Thursday with 111 calls for service, with about 30 more than we normally do. So we're dealing with all the traffic. 298 was another hassle. People driving around the barriers, hitting the barriers, so on and so forth, and then getting stuck. So a lot of vehicles got towed. It was a great team effort with the fire departments also, and the other town departments. We get the job done. It was busy, and hopefully we'll never deal with it again. Good job, I know.
One of the items I have as part of my budget, I've had a presented in a few weeks, I'm going to call a big picture approach to the drainage issues. We've been doing it, I'm going to call 3 by 3 backyard by backyard. My proposal could be to work with the county engineer and to try to come up with a multi-year comprehensive approach. These could start with Walnut Creek and Mud Creek. Those are the 2 big areas, and those are the big areas that impact the northern part of town. Maybe not in the first part of the rain, but after a few hours, then the northern part of the town gets impact on that water. So that's going to be one of the items I'm going to have in the budget.
Thank you for that.
So that's probably going to be a item to hire and get the consultants together, because it's going to be a big project. It's not going to be, you know, like a week or two. It's going to take months to put together a more comprehensive approach to manage methods to back out of the time. So, comments from any other board members?
To reiterate briefly, what the chief said, Councilor McCall and I went to Beach Road on Monday evening, walked a good length of it, talked to some residents. You know, some people had damage, some people had water in the garage, some people had water in their house. But one thing that was consistent was their thankfulness that CPD was there. I mean, some of these residents, you're talking like an inch. The water is literally in the living space of their house. So when you got someone driving through throwing a wake, rather than realize there's no wakes, and if you go faster, it's a bigger wake. It's a big deal, because that's the difference between water being outside the house and having a wave, you know, put water in there, during property, you know, pretty unsafe condition. So I'd like to thank also the TV, and I know they're very much appreciated. I'm glad they have positive feedback. I know Councilor Cameron kept hearing that over again. It's, you know, thank God the police are here. And it is necessary because people do ignore signs. There isn't a question that on my Facebook about whether or not the police have. Well, they are, because I mean, in order to get to the sign, I took a picture of getting past another sign, and the officer that was there turned around. 45 minutes there, probably 4 cars. Because they thought, well, I'm going to Muskrat Bay Road, I can get there this way. Well, you can get there another way, so how do you don't take the road that's closed? The guy that mentioned that, I'd like to just briefly address something, and I don't know how widespread it is, but in some neighborhoods, flyers have been put out containing some action and accurate information about the police department. One address, I would put them out because whoever did have the accessible reporting to put their name on it. It used the data from 2017, which is 4 years old. But it contains untruths. It suggests, for example, that the former deal that was in the contract, the Cicero Police Department is unique in the state, and that's not true. I'm working on getting this with our departments. In fact, language that is in our former contract. But that deal is gone for newly hired officers. You know, even before the new contract was signed, we learned on in March, and in January. It's not higher than that deal, and it has to contribute to the briefly, the reason why that happened, and someone's putting out there, and I'm going to take a few seconds to tell you. Back in, I think it was 2013, I wasn't here, the contract was negotiated, and if any of you are familiar with the contracts, contracts. If the contract is overdue and there's pay raises, the pay raises then called retroactive. And so this contract is overdue by a couple of years, and no one's indicated the exact amount. My understanding is north of $20,000. Pay out. So the town made a deal. It's not a deal I would have made. It's not a deal I would have voted for. It's a good deal for the town. But the town made a deal that rather than pay them what they pay, it had potential pension impacts to the officers. They would cover their health insurance when they retire. Again, not a good deal for the town, not one that I was voted for, but I wasn't there and didn't vote on it. So, you know, is it true that some of these officers have some benefits in retirement that are very expensive and not unique, but unusual? Yeah, but that's the deal that we made. And we made it in order to save money. And, you know, and it's, I kind of feel like, you know, if you ever go Paul Harvey, the rest of the story, like that's the rest, wasn't good given to them to be generous. But again, that deal's over. So in any case, you're not going to get, if the police department's eliminated, the level of service that you get from the CPD, claim, you're gonna have the sheriff. You don't get the level of service from the sheriff that you get from our local police. I don't know the exact numbers, I can get them again, I had it, but I forgot them, but the cost savings per house is not as significant as one would think when you look at it. With the budgets, if you take the police budget and spread it out over, you know, thousands of homes now. So the savings per house is not a lot, and I think it's more worth it to have the level of service and fund. I don't think you would have had the county putting vehicles or putting officers on each road respectively for problem. That's all. Thank you again, Chief. We really do appreciate it. I think most of the residents appreciate what you and your office do out there.
If I can just for a minute, I went to Beach Road this morning before I went to work, and my brain, whatever. But I did talk to some people too, and they were just ecstatic with the response from the town in general, you know, the departments and the police being there and keeping the people from speeding through and making the wait. So the one guy just kept going saying, "Oh, thank God, it's gone down. It was an inch away," and it was sad to see, but they were thrilled that Councilor Bacall and Councilor Park were there. They were thrilled to see me this morning. They were thrilled the police were there and the signs and everyone helping out. So I think, you know, they were happy with their response. So good luck to them. Hopefully the water goes down quickly.
Further items?
My turn.
Sarah?
Seeing as I live on Mustard Bay, my property does butt up against the swamp area. And I lived there all my life, so I can probably speak to the truth of it all. I'd like to say that I have actual videos on my phone from last Friday, last Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I contacted Channel 9, who did go out. And I also spoke with the chief and asked him to please get someone there, which he did. And because I know probably 95% of the residents of Beach Road that they contacted me as well, but they also know because the biggest issue in Beach Road does have to do with the lake, but it has to do more with the swamp. Because of the level of where that property is, it is the lowest level in Cicero. And Chris can agree, Cicero drains to that swamp. There's an issue there that I'm working on right now that it's been tackled probably, I don't know, 20 years now, and that's a state ditch. State ditch back in the back of that swamp. There's a ridge and it needs to be snaked. And it continues to be ignored. And I have started to pursue it. And I'm going to do my best to at least get someone out there to look at it. Granted, as Chris can agree, you need a airboat, you need equipment to get down through there. We had a little situation years ago, we stole something, but that's okay. But it needs to be snaked and it needs to be drained. And once that is drained, it will alleviate a lot of the problem, but as long as Cicero continues to drain into the swamp, unfortunate situation goes through Beach Road and Muskrat Bay Road. When the lake reaches its peak and it starts to go over the shoreline, it equalizes with the swamp. That's when the flooding starts. I have pictures of myself years ago in the booth with 3 kids in my hair. So I've ended on that, and I'm working on it. Thank you.
Actually, I have a question for a second. A couple residents had said that they, over the weekend, they tried to call and they had questions. I mean, whether or not the highway department had sandbags available.
Sandbags are only available through Onondaga County Emergency Management. They will not hand them out unless it's deemed an emergency.
Okay, is that something that you've ever considered looking into?
Yeah, it used to be Joe Reinford was in charge, and I talked to him, and they really discourage the use of sandbags because they really don't do anything. And it's a big cleanup mess, and they deteriorate rather quickly. They're biodegradable.
Oh, okay, yeah, I don't have any experience, but one resident kept saying, and, Mr. Callen, should remember, over and over again, how effective sandbags are, and we would use sandbags, and I don't know, I can't speak to that, I figured I'd ask you.
In 93 and 94, when the big flood hit, my family donated farm tractors and hay wagons, and we delivered literally thousands of sandbags down Beach Road and Potato Road, Murray Drive. And believe me, it was a mess trying to get them picked up for the town.
Okay.
This is before I started, but it really has to go through Onondaga County Emergency Management.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Mr. Second, I probably spoke to the same gentleman that you guys did.
I think you did.
So I spoke with Ryan McMahon's office today. I spoke with emergency management. Emergency management says they don't have any, that Mission Transportation has them.
Right.
So I called and spoke with Mr. Goff's office, and they don't have any either. But they said the same thing, that, they really discourage it because you can't really tell exactly where it's going. So I argued with them, but these people live through this every year in the springtime. They know exactly where the water is going to go. They just put them in the break spot.
Right.
But they said they don't have any.
That's true. I've lived through it. I have had multiple sandbags, and it done the right way, which there is a right way and wrong way to place the sandbags. Protect the foundation, but basically you can do it to keep the water from coming in.
Right.
But I've also been told you invite it in and then you throw it away out. And that's the only way you can do
Okay, thank you. For those who are familiar with the normal agenda, normally we have public input to the end. We're going to so, that being said, the executive session, I do not anticipate we're going to have any item to act on for that. But just want to give you a heads up on that. So we reserve the order and move to public input. So we public input before the last item. So, residents, visitors, if you find, raise your hand. I see a couple of them are here right now. So. Go ahead.
Bill Hoteling, 6320 Matilda Gate. I just have a couple of questions. What is an MEO?
Maintenance equipment operator.
Okay, all right. I didn't know what the hell it was. I tried Googling it and it didn't give me any of that. Secondly, over the weekend, I was coming back from playing golf and I saw a couple of heads I recognized under the bridge down there in 81. And I just wanted to thank them for taking their time to go and clean something that the state should be doing. But they took it upon themselves, Mr. Picala and Mr. Carpenter. There was another gentleman, I don't know who it was.
Mike Aragon.
I don't know who, but thank you very much on behalf of myself and the residents of the town. And this public hearing for the solar law, is that to establish where they can be put as well as remediation costs? All of the above. Well, the only thing I can say that hold their feet to the fire. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, now it's donated, that is so.
Good evening. The statement of purpose, item 5 on the proposed solar law begins to maintain the rural character of the town of Cicero. And I'm so happy to hear that the board feels that way, because that's the drive behind the push for the comprehensive plan for the town of Cicero, a process which has come to a screeching halt. On June 23rd of this year, this board voted 4-1 to impanel an advisory committee of citizens rather than continue what Councilor Boyke had begun and to report back on August 11th. August 11th has come and gone, and as of now, the first meeting of the in-house advisory committee has not even been scheduled. There has been no report back announcing who the chair is or who has been appointed to the advisory committee. That, along with the multiple multi-unit projects in various stages of approval, prompts me to call on the Cicero Town Board to enact a moratorium on zoning changes and building permits for multi-unit developments until such time as a new comprehensive plan is adopted. By multi-units, I mean more than, say, 10, whatever number you come up with, houses or apartments in any project. Regardless of what surrounding towns, the county, or the state decide to do, we as a town must take the time to step back and decide, when does development turn to overdevelopment? When will Cicero be full enough? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Stowe?
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Brian Schultz, 8938 Beach Road. I think you guys will be able to hear me. So I appreciate the fact that thank you, Chief. Okay, I stopped every day. I saw one of your officers. Thank you for being there. After about 3 or 4 days, it actually started working. All right, we really noticed a reduction in the speed of the vehicles. I appreciate the counselors that came out. And it's great that you met the neighbors and it's great that you talked to them. The next step is we got to do something. You said you went out and you blew out a few drains. I think that's because I called Mr. Meyer. You got to do more than a few drains. I went out last Thursday night after work, put on a pair of shorts, grabbed my son. We're clearing that much debris from the top of the drains. Some areas, it was actually sod. We're pulling up chunks of grass that have grown. I clean our drain. There's one on the swamp side of our property. I clean it every spring, and we keep it clean all throughout the summer. That has to be done. Once we cleared about 5 or 6 drains, I'm shoving pike poles down in them, stirring it around, pulling it out, and I'm creating drain funnels that big. There's so much sediment down in there. You've got to send a crew out there and blast out those drains and clear it out. This does not come from the lake, as you said. It comes from the swamp first. The road was covered in 6 to 8 inches of water before the lake ever crested. Storm drains have to be cleaned out. The 5 or 6 that I took care of, you couldn't even see them. I'm talking to the neighbors, asking them whereabouts they think it is, and I'm hitting it with a pike pole until I can hear the metal, because you can't even see them. Please, I'm glad that you went out and talked. Next step is you got to do something. And there's only 2 possible outcomes. You go out there and clean them out and it doesn't work. The residents are going to be even more grateful that you did that step. Or you go out there and clean them out and it does work. If you sit there and do nothing, this water will still be there on Labor Day. None of us will be able to have gatherings, because until the road drains, the yards aren't going to drain. Thank you all for your time.
Anyone else? Okay.
Good evening. My name is Tom Hayes, 8646 Backstretch Path. Few comments on things, solar ordinance. When it's drafted, is the public going to get to review that before you approve it?
Yeah, we post the items and we'll be going through many more steps.
Okay.
Now, some of these are going to be rather lengthy. So some people may have issues on the printer or whatever. They'll be able to come in and.
I'm good with lengthy.
Yeah.
The more information, if you follow it, usually it works.
Right.
Okay. When we deal with the creeks, let's not forget about the feeder creeks, like Gulf Stream development, flooded, the roads. We have ditches there. I'm not affected by it. My ditch is bone dry. But my neighbors across the street, when I have to help them bring a tractor out of their shed,
and everything else because it's underwater, there seems to be a problem there. And it's usually trees in a ditch. So when you talk to your engineers and start planning, let's not forget about the other neighborhoods that when you had to shut down a road like Gulfstream, Alabama, Weaver, I did the whole tour there. That means you also got a problem there. So let's not forget about those people as well. And for people regarding why are the cops doing Beach Road, we asked them to do community policing. And I don't know where you're going to find community policing any better than that. You guys did a great job. The town did a great job getting the barricades out. I seen them running around with their lights on, cones, whatever they can do to stop accidents from happening as well. That's all I have. Thank you.
Hi, Barbara Evanoff, Hetty Lane. I just wanted to say about the drainage. We have an ongoing problem. Mr. Procopio knows. I file forms regularly with the Drainage Board. And this week we had a big problem, but we also had another problem. And that was the sanitary sewers backed up into all our basements. So we had backyard problems and problems in our basements. But my neighbor called the town. And the town came and somebody cleaned out, I don't know who it was, but they did clean out the sanitary sewers. And I wanted to say they did a great job. And we really appreciate it because it helped them. We couldn't use our bathrooms for 2 days. So we did appreciate the fact that somebody responded and took care of us. Thank you.
Okay, any further hands? I don't see any. That's any further hands, next item, Jonathan. Yeah.
No, since we're on town board meeting, executive session related to the entire list. Moving on to resolution.
We'll read it. You can see it on the screen. If anybody, please raise your hand. If you have that, we'll read it. If it's down, we'll read the reading. Okay. Okay. Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. So. Okay, we'll be meeting, in my office. I'm deliberately leaving the, lunchroom open, the, letters there, the refrigerators there. So if you need to get into the thing, you have access right to that, everyone. I don't know. Clerk, are you ready? Robert, could you please, for the record, go through the points and start going into executive session, please?
Yes, sir. Well, the reason that we went in was what we discussed today related to proposed pending or current litigation.
Okay, thank you. And clerk will please note the time that we came out and to make a note that no votes were taken while we we're in executive session.
Duly noted.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we're back into the regular agenda on the meeting. We've gone through the entire agenda. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Mr. Supervisor,
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
please make a motion to reconvene.
Yes, so moved, reconvene. Second, Mr. Carl, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, so, getting back to, number 14 on the agenda, I'll accept a voice motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Carl, seconded by
Second.
Ms. White. Vote all in favor?